Alright, I do believe we are now live. At least it says we are starting. Okay, it says we are live. So, hello everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I just need to update something on the website real quick. But we are here with Moss. And it's a PSVR exclusive game that just came out today, and we're going to be giving away some codes for the game on PSVR. And I'm joined by one of my fellow editors at UploadVR, Ian Hamilton.
Hello, everyone.
Alrighty.
The stream is black right now, right?
Yeah, because I'm turned away from my camera. The game's right there, so you should have saw it for a second just now. But I just need to post the link to the stream into the story, and I had to look at my computer to do that. It's behind me. Trying to find the link. I can never find the link every time we go live. It never shows up for me. There we go, found it. Alright. Okay, it's all updated now. So, thanks for joining everyone. As you can see from the title and the link on the site, if you joined us from there, we're going to be giving away some codes for Moss today on PSVR. I do believe we have 4 codes for the North American region version and the EU region. Because, as everyone knows, if you have a PS4, Sony has them region locked, so yeah, the accounts are separated.
Yeah, I'll wait a few minutes.
I'll
wait a few minutes before I start giving them away. I've already got a question. Someone asking if Moss is an episodic game.
You know, I get the feeling that it will be, because whenever you finish it, it says the end of book 1.
Through the eastern gate was strictly
I asked the team at Polyarc what their plans are for follow-up stories, and if, when book 2 is supposed to come out, if ever. I assume it is. They wouldn't say book 1 if it wasn't. But they don't have any information about that at this time. They're just not willing to talk about it yet. But I get the feeling that it is supposed to be episodic. Because book 1 here, this game, was about 3 to 4 hours long.
Starting, you can't just barge in here with your
I think it took me about 4 hours. I got a little stuck occasionally, but mostly I kind of went straight through it. And it's a $30 game, so it's kind of priced at a point where I feel like they could release another 4 or so hour, follow-up for about $40. I could see that, as an option that might work well. But
There's a question about whether it's too dark, and another question, I'm wondering if it's related, about whether there's a screen door effect. 2 different people asking those questions, but can you compare the visuals to something like Lucky's Tale, where they've got so many of those solid colors, it kind of covers up the screen door effect a little bit?
I don't think it's too dark. I haven't really noticed any issues. I think it looks better in the headset, of course, as is the case with pretty much any VR game that you stream. And we are currently, the mission is to escape your home, and it's nighttime. And so it is a little darker during this section of the game, but it brightens up for sure as you get a little bit farther.
And just for people that haven't read your review, you gave it a pretty stellar review. You want to summarize that real quick?
Yeah, so I gave this game a 9. I haven't given many 9s, and it's hard to explain, because anyone that has tried VR understands it's very difficult to articulate what makes a VR game special, and this is definitely one of those situations. But I would say that Quill, the little mouse that you control, is your little companion on this adventure. She is so animated and has such a strong personality. And the way that you interact with her is just so charming. You can actually lean down and she'll acknowledge your presence, she'll wave at you, you can rub her head and pet her. You actually take this orb here that's on the screen and you place it in her heart, and you kind of pulse it, and that's how you heal her when she's damaged. So like whenever puzzles are difficult, she'll kind of look around the environment and point things out to you. So she's very, very active and very aware of your presence, because the game does a good job of establishing the fact that you aren't Quill, but rather you're a, quote, reader of this story that she's in. And so everyone's aware of that fact, and it plays into the whole aesthetic of the game really well. But then just from a gameplay perspective, I see this orb right here is my DualShock 4 controller. The light on it's being tracked. And it's a huge, huge element in solving puzzles and even in combat. I can use this to take over enemies, I can make them freeze, I can control them, I can interact with areas of the environment. Later on, there's moments where I have to interact with things and then control Quill separately and kind of turn my head and look away from what I'm interacting with. And it's, I think the way I described it in my review is that it's a different type of ambidexterity. You know, it's kind of like using your thumbs and your wrists and your head all separately. It's really cool. It's something I haven't really seen in a VR game yet. I'm gonna recalibrate real quick because I think I'm sitting in it differently from where my camera's at the moment.
You said it was 3 to 4 hours of gameplay, David?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid estimate of about how long it took. I haven't looked at the footage and tallied up exactly how long, but I think it took me about 3.5 or 4 hours. And if you watched the stream yesterday, we are currently retreading a little bit. That's because the checkpoint that we left out at wasn't a new chapter, so I can't just pick it up from that point in the chapter select menu. I have to restart the chapter, but we're almost back to where we were at the end of that mission. I just really love how fluid the animations are. Like, I haven't been in a combat encounter yet, but once I get to one up here pretty soon, the way she moves is just, it's so fluid and consistent, and it just looks really good.
What kind of sign language can you see, and is it possible for you to activate it and like getting close to her so we can see it up close?
Yeah, this is a good spot actually. So there's this platform right here that I'll be able to get her on, and so once I get her over here, I can lean in, and that'll be a good opportunity for her to kind of respond a little bit. I don't know the full details of exactly what actual sign language she does. I know that she supposedly does do a lot of sign language, but yeah, so like if I get up real close, see, she'll actually kind of look at me, and she'll know I'm there. See, she kind of waves a little bit. And if there's any like difficult puzzles, if I stop for a while, she'll kind of, you know, like point to where I should kind of focus my attention a little bit. So here I can pet her, and after I'm done, you know, she'll rub her ears. And if she's hurt, this icon on her back will turn red, and then I can hold it, and it kind of pulses, and that's how you can heal her.
Alright, I think I'm ready to give away a code here pretty soon. I'll give away a North American code for the game. I'm going to paste the code minus 1 digit into the chat window. And then I'll...
will you put a question mark where it was supposed to be?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it'll actually be the last digit in this one. So if you're trying to race the other viewers to enter the code, you'll be able to enter in most of the digits, and I'll just say the last digit on the audio here.
Oh, I see. So if they're listening, they'll know what the last digit is.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, and this is the exact moment that I cut off the stream last time. So this is good timing. We're going to jump on this raft, and this will be new stuff that you didn't see last time in the live stream.
Alright, I'm going to paste the North American code into chat right now. And the last digit that's missing...
Did you hear that?
...is a Q.
The starling seemed anxious.
The letter
I
Q.
have enough
And that is redeemable on the PSN
I can't be
store,
seen.
just like any other
I'll catch up with you
PSN
later.
code.
Just Don't go and
This is a
die.
PSVR exclusive game, so we don't have. Excuse me. So there's no codes for Steam or anything like that.
Did they say it's only ever going to be on PlayStation, or is this a time?
The way I understood it is this is kind of, in a way, it's in partnership. Oh, see, there you go. There's a moment right there. She said thank you in sign language. I recognize that sign. Because I healed her after she fell in those fights. Yeah, so I, as far as I know, it's kind of in partnership with Sony a little bit. You know, it was announced at the Sony press conference at E3. Whenever I've interviewed them, they've been very vocal about the PSVR being the platform that it was designed for. I know that, you know, if I were to play this on a Vive using the wands in each hand, it just wouldn't really feel the same, you know? Like, I don't know, you know, how would they pick? I guess they would just pick one of the controllers to be tracked for the beam of light. You know, you would need 2 analog sticks, so the trackpads just wouldn't really translate that well. I guess for touch, it could work reasonably well. I mean, you couldn't use a gamepad like an Xbox One controller because that doesn't have motion tracking. So it would be a little tricky, I guess is the point. It's doable, but this definitely was a game designed for PSVR from the ground up for sure. Yeah, one of the things I think this game does a really great job of that I haven't really seen too much in other third-person VR games is just a great sense of scale. You know, that was something that I felt like was lacking a little bit from Lucky Sail. It seemed like you were this sort of eye in the sky that was looking at this world, but for the most part everything was to scale pretty accurately. But in this game, you know, you feel like, you know, this mouse is actually super tiny. It's not like this is a tiny world. You're just a tiny mouse in a normal sized world. And there's, you know, there's moments where you can see deer in the background that look down at you. There's, you know, squirrels with saddles on them for mounts, and just a lot of really cool little elements like that.
We have a winner for the code that worked for Woven, I think. OMS Network is asking about Farpoint and the controller. You do have to buy the controller. Well, you can play Farpoint with the Move controllers, right? But
no, you cannot play with the Move controllers, but you can play with the DualShock.
Okay.
It just is very bad. I wouldn't recommend it. You know, so you would think that Farpoint would control like any other shooter with the DualShock, right? That you would use, you know, the control stick, and you would just aim it normally using the right stick and all that kind of stuff. But that's not the case. They have you actually move your DualShock around to aim, and it's really bizarre, and it just doesn't really feel right. I would definitely say that if you want to play Farpoint, then you should get the aim controller. I don't think I would recommend anyone playing it without the aim controller at all.
Interesting. One question I have about Moss is, let's say you've got someone playing the game on playing the game in PSVR, and then you've got other people on the couch watching with. Can the people watching really help with the puzzles, or is it pretty much going to be the person in VR figuring that sort of thing out?
I think they totally can. A game like this is absolutely compatible with that sort of thing. Whoops. Alright, here we go. So here's some combat. You can't lock on to enemies, but you know, Quill does a really good job of focusing on enemies when they're around her. And so, you know, X is jump normally, but if I'm in combat and I attack, I can hit X to dodge. See, so I can hit and then dodge out of the way, hit a little bit, dodge.
Hey, Mike and Jeff, we'll give away a few more codes in a few more minutes, so you have chances to win. I'll do it the same way. I'll paste the code and with the final digit missing, and then I'll say it on the audio screen.
And the combat's really fun in this game. I was really surprised. It just feels really good. You know, all the animations are super fluid. I wanted a little more combat. That was one of the things that I think could have been improved on. on is that, you know, there is combat and it's spread around pretty good, but I would have really liked a few more combat encounters. Or just some enemies kind of sprinkled throughout the world a little bit more would have been nice. But that also could just be my
The
Zelda
whisper
side
echoed through
coming
the
out.
trees.
Because this game definitely
Like
has a lot
someone
of
who has
comparisons to
stolen
Zelda.
our champion's power.
Okay, I think this is the start of a new chapter here. So, at the beginning of a chapter, you have this storybook that you're sitting in front
A
of.
small yet
And this is how
fantastical
cutscenes are
band of
played out.
sprites emerged surrounding Quill.
But for the stream, I'm not really going to,
She
let
sized
these
up.
linger too long.
Quill stepped
I don't think it
closer.
would be interesting for you to sit there and just watch a
Your
cutscene.
uncle once took a
So
solid.
we'll skip through this.
Take these. Weapons made for the
Basically,
mighty
these plant
champion
people
who
give
died
Moss
so
a
that
magical leaf sword on, she's the chosen mouse, I guess you could say. And she gets this super-powered leaf blade that attaches to her arm, so you don't have to use her dinky little sword anymore. You can see right there on her arm it's all different now, and I can draw the sword out. It does a lot more damage too, so you kill enemies faster with it. So I actually, whenever I played previously, I didn't see this collectible. But over here, if I look off to the side, you can see there's a little collectible there. And so those are spread around throughout the whole world. I didn't find a whole lot of them. I found probably close to half just during my first playthrough. So there's still some that are hidden that I didn't see. And it's really neat the way that they hide them is that it often, you don't see a lot of them unless you look around the world. As you saw there, if I had just been watching Quill run up here and then I just ran up there, I wouldn't have ever saw this one. I had to look off to the side to see it. Oh crap, I missed. Let me try that again.
Mike is asking whether you use the mic at all. The microphone.
No, I didn't notice any of that. It would have been a nice touch.
I'm going to give away
Oh,
another
man.
code, another North American code. There is everything but the final digit, and the final digit is A. Good luck.
And go! There we go. Made it that time. Oh boy, that's a big jump. Nice. And those little scroll pieces at the main menu, there's a puzzle that they are slowly filling in. Each parchment is a piece of the puzzle. Some kind of image. I don't know what it is yet because I haven't actually found all the pieces, like I said. But
That was really cool when she got up close to the screen like that, or close to you like that.
yeah, I feel like that's the benefit of having a fixed camera angle in this game, is that she's able to get really close, and you have those satisfying moments where she passes by, right in front of you. Games like Lucky Sail have the camera follow you at all times, so it's always kind of a fixed distance, but I really like how the camera angle is fixed here, so I can look around the world, I can kind of lean, and I have to move around because sometimes she'll be walking through areas that I can't quite see. It works really well in this game for sure.
And there's a-
go ahead.
Almas is asking whether you can change the view at all.
No, every scene is fixed.
Seal this temple from the arcane.
Initially it sounds a little odd and frustrating. I was in the same boat. I wasn't a fan of it in Chronos. But here in Moss, I don't know, the way they did it and the way they placed each scene is just really, really satisfyingly good. Yeah, so there's lots of pots you can break. If you are a Zelda fan, you'll probably do that instinctively like I do. But yeah, here's a great example of just the scene placement. So, Quill came in over here and I could see everything fine. Now she's walking up this way. There's pillars here, right? So I have to kind of lean my head around to sort of see where she's going. And I feel like it's, the game kind of makes me move without having to think about it. And I think that's something that's really impressive. Oh, there's another scroll that I didn't see the last time I played it. So yeah, I would have never seen that if I hadn't physically leaned over there.
It's pretty cool. What is? Can you stand up? You're seated right now, right? But what
Yeah, I
happens?
am. My headphone cord is kind of short, but let me give it a shot. Yeah, there we go. So I'm kind of clipping through the ceiling right now. But there was one puzzle that I had to stand up on because I wanted to get a better view of the entire map layout. So there were moments where standing up definitely were beneficial.
It's so cool to kind of like lean forward and look up at a wall that you couldn't see from just your seated position. It's kind of strange to get used to the idea that there's all that detail there just waiting for you to explore.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So I'm trying to remember how to do this one. I think I have to push this block. No, I pull it.
Sounds like Giga thought they won they got the code, but sounds like they might have been beaten by someone, but we don't know who. There will be a few more chances. And do we have any listeners, viewers in Europe for an EU code? I think I might do EU next.
And, just so that people are aware, you don't have to live in Europe. You can make an EU account. You just wouldn't get the trophy stuff on your main account. Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, once I get to a little more complicated puzzle, I'll actually kind of pause for a moment and see if you or any of the viewers have any ideas about how to solve stuff. Since I already did all these, I don't want to just blow through everything super fast. It'd be kind of boring. So once I get up to a little more complex one, we can try to crowdsource some solutions a little bit.
Right. Here comes an EU code into the chat.
This is another combat room. Oh, there's another scroll that I missed. It was right in front of me. I don't know how I missed that one.
And the missing digit there is Q.
Like Quill.
Yeah, we ended up getting a couple of those.
Now you see, this sword does a lot more damage. I kill these guys, I think, in 3 or 4 hits as opposed to like 6 or 7 like before.
So how much depth is there to the combat?
This is about it. As far as the main combat itself goes, you can do a 3-hit combo, you can do a jump little attack, you can dodge after you attack. That's it for the core combat, but I can also take control of each enemy, and there's about 4 or 5 different enemy types. Some of them I could take control of and then shoot things, that comes into play for puzzle solving. Some of them I can move onto switches like these to weigh things down while I move Quill through a door that opened up. Some of them explode, so I have to, take control of them and hold them and kind of guide them towards walls that need to be blown up. So the puzzle solving and the combat are kind of combined together in a way, which I thought was really interesting. Let's see, I can spin this around now. So I can line up. There we go.
Yeah. David, is there a mobile way to redeem a PlayStation code? I always go to the PlayStation Store on my device. And
Yeah, I think the PlayStation app can let you do it, or the website. If you go to, like, the PSN store, you can log into your account and redeem codes on there. I'm pretty sure the mobile app allows it too. Alright. This is another pretty simple one. I don't think there's actually a whole lot of complicatedness going on here, if I recall correctly. Yeah, so as you can see, this switch here opens the door, but I can't get through it because if I get off of it, the door closes. This is a classic Zelda switch puzzle.
there'll be a few more chances, Ian, if that didn't redeem for you. I would love to hear that people were successfully able to redeem it. Would hate to be there to be some problem doing it this way. I assume someone redeems it and the rest just are out of luck. But I have never heard of any problems where nobody has been able to redeem the code, right, David?
Ah, that's right.
This is pretty typical.
Right. Yeah, I mean, all these codes came directly from the publisher, so they should all be active. There's an enemy spawn point. I don't actually need to fight this enemy. What I instead need to do is guide them over to the switch. There we go.
You're welcome, Ian. Thanks for tuning in.
Ooh,
Yeah, I wonder if people if you download if you get a code, do you just is that it? You're done with you're sold on the game. You just disappear. I wonder if our viewer count goes down with each code giveaway.
Oh yeah, I remember this room. Okay, this one gave me a bit of trouble because so there's the two switches here, right? Each of them need to be pressed in order to activate these little blocks that move up and down. And then there's different tiers to this room, right? So there's spikes there, you can get squished, and there's different ledges you can climb on, and there's doors that are hidden you can't even see yet because the blocks are in the way. And so there you saw, I don't know if you saw that or not, but Quill kind of was like, hey dude, you need to, do stuff, you're sitting there. So if I take control of this enemy, I can put them over on this switch. That will activate everything. And then these are kind of like elevators, I guess, in a way. They're kind of moving constantly up and down. And yeah, I don't totally remember exactly what to do here, so we're going to see if I can figure this out. I know there's a way that I can get the second one across as well. Oh, I need to... Here we go. Let's open that. There we go. Switch down here, or a lever, sorry. And that connects the bridge. Yeah, there we go. So I can grab this little guy. And... so now... oh, whoops, there's a wall.
I'm curious how the prototyping goes for these kinds of puzzles. Did you talk to the developers about that at all? Like, do they build these puzzles or something like it in real life first?
No, I haven't talked to them. I would imagine that would be kind of impractical. I don't know how they would do that.
Yeah.
Oh, crap. Well, I bet some good old-fashioned pen and paper comes in handy.
Well, I'm just thinking like you can make paper models sort of, so you can get kind of an idea of the layout when you move your head around.
Yeah. Okay, so this one I died a bunch on because I kept trying to jump up on that ledge while they were still moving. I wasn't thinking correctly. So actually, once it gets up all the way and stops, you can move this enemy off if you don't want to do it right. And then it'll freeze the blocks, so it gives you time to climb up there and not get squished.
Alright, I'll have another North America code coming up here. I will paste it into the chat window and then say the final digit. Alright, the code is there in the chat. And the missing digit is 4. In case you missed it, the missing digit is 4. Good luck. Sorry, Mike. Congrats, Jeff.
What the heck? Can't get on this thing. Might have started doing it already. I could have sworn I was supposed to be able to climb up on that. Guess not.
Mike just asked Jeff if his heart was racing while he tried to get the code in.
So how many codes are left?
We got 1 more North American, and I think 3 more EU codes. So I'll go through the EU codes. I hope there are some EU viewers. If not, David said that you can set up an EU account. What's the benefit of that other than trying to redeem codes? Like, is there any legitimate reason someone would do that?
Sometimes games will release in one region before another. Yeah, so I know a lot of people set up Japan and China accounts so that they can try some of the demos that might release on the PSN store that aren't released over NA or EU. For us, you know, there's some publishers only get NA codes or EU codes, so having multiple accounts is useful for doing stuff.
Makes sense. I wonder, is it possible to have both regions logged in on the same system, or do you have to log out one at a time?
Oh crap. You can have them both logged in, but the issue is that if you redeem the game on one, you can't usually play it on both. You have to play it on the account that it was redeemed on in most cases.
Oh, so that's what you meant by all your trophies and...
Yeah. And it goes for, same goes for save data too, is it's linked to it's linked to that actual profile. I cannot remember how to do this puzzle. I just did it yesterday. It's not letting me climb up on here. I thought I had to. Oh, I bet I know. I bet I have to go and jump up on it over here. Yeah, there we go. Haha. Now, I need to time this one so that I don't get squished by the spikes.
Yeah, I don't ever want to go back to the old type of streaming when you're looking through the lens. So much nicer.
Yeah, this looks way better. I was watching back some of it yesterday and it just significantly better. I definitely want to stream some more Skyrim using this method because it would look way better. And that game's very nice to look at, and that fisheye effect was not doing it very good justice. So here's a cool puzzle. This one was in my E3 demo. I don't know if it's in the demo in the PSN store. I feel like it probably is. But this is one of the first kind of more elaborate puzzles that you have to deal with. Well, I mean, that last room was pretty elaborate too, but this one is all kind of something I interact and I get to twist and move around like it's a gadget in front of me. So I have this enemy I can put over here. It opens up these doors.
So I've got Peter saying that he can't have his volume up, so he can't hear the last digit of the codes. I feel bad for Peter, so I'm going to give him a chance. I'm going to paste a whole code.
Okay.
This is it's an EU code though. Peter, are you in the EU? This is your chance.
Oh, I see what I have to do.
I'm going to paste the whole code.
Oh, Peter's
Good luck,
in the
EU. There's the whole code. Good luck.
So here's a good
Someone's
example. I have to control this enemy while also controlling Quill separately. Little puzzles like this are pretty interesting. My brain struggled with that concept for a little while. And here's one of the most adorable moments of the entire game, right here. She's inside this box, right? Open it up. And watch this, watch. I just gave her a high five. Love it.
That's pretty cool. You definitely get that sense of helping her when you literally help her cross chasms.
Yeah, exactly. There's actually a Daydream game, a Google Daydream game. I don't know if it's on Gear VR yet. That uses a similar, imaginary friend, sort of floating, godlike helper companion system. What's it called? I think it's Alone Together, something like that. It's by the same folks that did, I believe, Floor Plan. Who was that? Is it Turbo Button? I can't remember if that's the same developer or not. But yeah, it's a Google Daydream game that has a similar aesthetic to it. And so this one here, this room was pretty intense. I died a lot here, and it's because this is sort of a combat puzzle. You don't just have to kill the enemies. The enemies are attacking you while you're trying to solve the puzzle. It was pretty difficult for me at first, so we'll see how I do now that I know kind of the strategy. So these guys up here, they shoot at you. So whenever they spot you, they'll actually shoot these little bombs. And so you have to raise these platforms, well, after you get on them, of course. Oh, dang, it got me. So I think I can actually make them kill each other. Or at least get preoccupied for a second. There we go. And so that could have been the last one that I killed, I think. Now, I think I just have to go back down there and kill
It's interesting the fixed camera third-person VR games. Are you ever bothered by the cuts from room to room?
Sometimes I am. In Chronos, it was more of an issue because that game, you went from room to room immediately. So like if I were to walk through a door, it would transition just right away. And sometimes I would be coming from an angle differently than the angle that I entered from, and it was very jarring. But this game, it fades out in between rooms, and usually you see Quill approaching from the distance, you know, like through a doorway or something. So it kind of prepares you a little bit for which direction she's going. And just the whole aesthetic of this game being kind of like a story, and you're the reader that's following along. And there's even a little sound effect that you can hear if you listen closely, where every room is you hear a page turning in a book. So it's almost like you're reading a story as it goes. Grab it. Here, and then okay.
I'll give away another EU code.
I died that time, did I? I got hit a few times, but I never died.
How many times did it beat you? Twice?
Whenever I was reviewing it?
Just now. Well, that's what I was going to ask. What was the hardest puzzle you had in the game? How long did it take you?
So there's one later on that it feels like it's so simple now, but it probably took me 20 minutes to figure it out, and I actually thought there might have been an item somewhere in the game that I was supposed to get before that I could use to complete it, because I was so stumped that I left and just re-explored the game trying to find an item of some kind. Not the entire game, but I went through a few rooms trying to figure out if I missed something. Yeah, that one it was a bit of a stumper for a little while.
Alright, here comes another EU code. And the missing digit is 6. It's 6 there at the end. Thanks for reading and listening and watching, Peter. Is that Peter? Peter Radio? Yes, I believe so.
Oh, okay, so he wasn't all talk, he was as fast as he thought he was.
Oh, this is a different Peter, I think. It's P-I-T-E-R versus P-E-T-E-R. Got it. Well,
this one was a little tricky too. I remember this one giving me some trouble.
What dictates whether your controller shows up, like the ghost of your controller?
It's pretty much always there. If I'm playing on a level that has a floor that's kind of around this height, I'll hold the controller down in my lap just so it's out of view. It can pass through things, you know, so like I can put it into the ground to hide it if I don't want to see it, but it's always there.
Interesting. Do you ever go outside, or is it mostly tunnels? Like, is it ever bright?
There are some regions that are a bit brighter. You go back outside again near the end of the game. It's nighttime again, and it's beautiful. That's my favorite section. Is whenever this, I'll say this big monster of some kind. I won't be too specific, but it's chasing you through a series of levels, and you kind of have like a bunch of mini boss fights against it until the big boss fight at the very end, and it chases you all throughout this area, and you have to constantly evade it. That's probably my favorite part. It was really fun.
What's the source of the name? People are confused, thinking the main character is Moss, not Quill.
Actually, don't know. That would be a good question for the folks at Polyarch. Oh, I see. She was just telling me to take control of this thing and to shoot these switches. She like mimed a gun out of her hand. That was pretty funny. Oh, I never got this one last time. I think all I have to do is... Nope, that's the wrong one. I don't think I can actually hit that one.
I can't wait to see my kid's reaction when she starts playing this. I think she's gonna love it.
I definitely agree. Oops. Okay, let's see here. Okay.
Home asked us a good conversation question. What kind of games do you like in normal PlayStation, and what games do you like in VR? I think we'll stick to PlayStation titles.
I think my interests are generally about the same. There's a lot of overlap. Skyrim, of course, is one of my favorite games ever, and it's also one of my probably most played PSVR games that I've spent the most time with, and I really like it a lot. But that being said, I do think that in VR, I have a little bit more interest in slower paced, kind of experiential, immersive, atmospheric games that may not be as interesting if I were to play on a flat screen. Like, I was never a big fan of classic adventure games, you know, like Myst. But in VR, I love games like Abduction and The Gallery and really slow-paced, kind of investigative games like that I probably wouldn't have played if they were not in VR. Then outside of VR, I play some shooters, but it's mostly RPGs, a lot of single-player stuff. I love multiplayer in VR, but I'm not usually playing multiplayer a whole lot outside of VR.
Peter plays Bloodborne.
See, those games have never really clicked with me too much. I think, I don't know, it's not the difficulty that puts me off. I like hard games. It's just, I don't know, the gothic setting of Bloodborne specifically just was never that appealing to me. I definitely preferred the Dark Souls settings. You know, those are not the exact same series, but spiritual successors and everything like that.
I wonder if a game I just finished, actually my daughter just finished playing Knack 2, first game she's ever played on her own, and I think the game designs are similar between Moss and a game like Knack, where you've got the got these well-designed areas to sort of jump through. I wonder if a game like Knack can be easily adapted, or if it's just too much effort to switch over.
That's a good question.
And as far as my games, have you ever played Pac-Man Championship Edition, David?
No. I mean, I'm familiar with it, but generally speaking, puzzle games and, you know, really quick, repetitive games like that aren't really my jam too much. I like stuff with the story.
We don't have much in common there, though I will say that Last of Us was amazing. I mean, you obviously that's like the pinnacle of the genre of storytelling. But yeah, that's my kind of game, is the repetitive, try to get the top score. I love that. Space Pie Trainer, baby.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I beat you last time we went head to head in that.
Oh, well, that was a wireless headset. There were all sorts of things going on. You know, I was confused. I was talking to them outside of VR. There's a lot of reasons for me to blame me losing.
Okay, yeah, sure.
The sun was in my eyes, virtual sun.
One thing I noticed with this game is that they've done a really good job with placing shortcuts. So once you finish a big puzzle or you get an item, like I got this little item here that I need to put in that door, you don't have to backtrack through all the levels. They usually put a shortcut somewhere that you can get to get you back to where you need to go. So it's very streamlined design.
So I'm going to give away the last EU code. Oh, before I give away that EU code, sort of a deep question here saying that a government report a couple days ago said that games make you violent. Yeah, I'd have to dig into the actual research myself and see what they say. I would recommend...
I don't need to dig into the research. I can tell you right now it's stupid and not true.
Well... makes you violent is always that's such a loaded statement in and of itself. But I'm actually working on a post right now about this super high-end, almost military level simulation that I tried in New York, and it's got me.
Tanks?
It was World of Tanks. So first they showed World of Tanks, and that was just a standard Vive experience. You stand in place, you can move around a foot, back and forth. And operate a tank, which is just kind of like a classic VR arcade game, very well made for VR. But then they had this other setup, which was a backpack with an Oculus Rift, and then they had OptiTrack sensors overhead. They had this Striker gun, prototype gun, and they were saying that this particular prototype gun, they can program the haptics so that it will operate differently depending on which virtual gun you've got. So if you've got a shotgun, the haptics should kick differently than if you've got an assault rifle.
Yeah.
The thing that kind of blew me away about it is after a few minutes of sort of getting comfortable and knowing that I'm not going to walk into a wall, I was moving really, really quickly through VR. They had a big enough space that you could take, I don't know, 10 to 15 steps really briskly and still be in VR, still not worry about hitting a wall. And that's the first time I've really moved that fast in VR. And with a gun holstered against my shoulder, it was a new feeling. And I'm trying to figure out how to write about it and really express it without making too many people mad.
Yeah, the way you described it reminds me of the footage we've seen in the Ready Player One trailer of people running down the streets, holding virtual guns with their headsets.
It's exactly like that. It's exactly like that shot. And I was playing with a guy in Moscow. So there was a person in my virtual space with me, and we played like an Unreal Tournament type of game at the end. This was after the hyper-realistic simulator. Like, it was a little bit different. And there was one guy in Moscow and another guy in the room with me. And at one point we fist bumped each other. We all like put our hands in together for like a high five. And I couldn't tell which one of them was the real person. Like, which one was in the room with me versus the person in Moscow.
You said
and
you
that
could
was,
not?
I could not, no.
Okay.
And it was just a pretty weird moment. And the body tracking was flawless. Yeah, it's just pretty intense. Like, I feel like I know how to handle a large gun in a high-stress situation. Or a more stressful situation than a normal video game. And I didn't expect that. Alright, here comes the final EU code. Right. The final digit is T. T is in Tom. Got one more North America code to give away. Yeah, Carlos, one more North America code coming right up in about 2 minutes.
Oh, dang, that did so well. That final fight there was pretty intense.
Were you pretty close to the end there?
Yeah, I think that was the last wave. I think it starts me back on the same wave though. I don't have to read it. And it gets intense because even though I can heal well at will, you know, like I can do it at any time, it takes time. And if I get hit during the healing process, it can take damage because we haven't healed yet. So you need enough time to fully heal her, otherwise you just leave yourself open. So it's not like I can just tap her and heal her in the middle of the fight. You have to have like 4 or 5 seconds of time. And it's harder to find those moments of time whenever there's projectile on you. Because you can try to go hide off to the side, but then they'll just shoot you. Oh man. I'm gonna try to do it. I'm gonna heal. Nope.
Want to take a break pretty soon? We're coming up on an hour.
Well, it'll just be a stopping point after this fight.
Alright, the final North America code. I'm going to paste it in right now.
Good time.
Okay, there we go. And the final digit is 9. Good luck. Thank you all for watching. If you didn't get a code, or if you didn't get your code to work, I'm sorry. And for those of you that are playing Moss, please spread the good word. David gave it a 9. That's kind of have to talk loudly about the great VR games so that people can keep making those great VR games.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would just like to commend us for our timing here, because I just got to the second raft and I think that's the end of this chapter. So that's it's pretty great timing. We gave away the codes just in time, perfectly paced. So both of our live streams, the yesterday's live stream and this live stream, probably add up to, I would say, probably about half of the game, or almost half of the game. But
And
it's only about 3 or 4 hours long. So.
All right, thanks everyone for tuning in, and sorry about that, Peter. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks. That was a lot of fun.